Hi everybody, it's Saria, and I messed up yesterday regarding something with Diminish, and I want to talk about it because I want to hopefully turn it into something positive where we can all learn from it. Long story short, I woke up yesterday, and because I still check every single comment on every single Diminish thing on the internet, whether it be actual official Diminish content or things that people make for Diminish, I'm there and I can't detach myself. I'm just too connected. And I went to the Nightmind video, and there were two recent comments, very, very unfavorable about the series, and they were kind of responding to each other, being kindred about it. And they just happened to have their comments in as little words as possible be the most succinct and perfect exemplifications of some very specific fears I have, like some really, really, really intense fears I have about life in general, about society and the way people perceive things and the way people use those perceptions to try and affect how other people see things and how people and things are treated. And it felt like the universe was begging me to use those two comments in their perfect construction about all of this as examples. And like I've done in the past, I wanted to do that as will and create some posts with those comments, of course with their identities protected, to try and raise awareness about issues and raise discussions. And I felt like I wasn't incredibly emotionally charged as I constructed all of this. And that was unbelievably foolish, because in the aftermath, I realized, dear God, I was as emotionally charged as you can get, because my entire life I've had a chip on my shoulder because of my past and my experiences with society. And as a result, I have very strong reactions in general to when I'm dismissed and when I feel like I'm being treated unfairly. And when it comes to my art, it's very powerful, but especially with Diminish, because Diminish doesn't feel like art to me. It feels like just me venting. It's just me venting, and I don't respond well when that is critiqued. And people are not wrong for critiquing it because it happens to be art. And I feel like I'm losing my mind because I keep berating myself for like, well, you should have known that you shouldn't be feeling this way, but it's not easy. It's often causing the lowest lows of my life, and that happened yesterday. But this is not a pity party, because my execution as a result of all of this was very, very poor. I wanted to create posts, like I said, that would create awareness about certain issues, where these comments were perfectly expressing all of my fears about instant flippant rejection of anything if it has the slightest possible relation to furries or furries, because nobody can agree on what the definition is. And one other commenter was using some really, really questionable views of mental health and dragging down the work with those views. Well, there's 10. So I made the posts trying to have it clear that I was posting them as will, because I felt like the topic was very relevant to Diminish and everything surrounding it. But the voice that I used as will, as much as I tried for it not to be in the moment, it was still contentious. It still made the wrong impression, and the impression that I wanted was completely lost, and that's entirely on me. And I want to apologize for my execution. I don't apologize for the sentiments of that, where I wanted to create a discussion about why I thought those comments perfectly encapsulate some serious problems in society, and why it's so it's so hard for some people to exist. The reason I bring this up, and the reason that I want to see if we can all use this as an example to learn from, is not specifically because of, like, we can examine what I did right and wrong, what different words I should use. More so, I want to take a look at all of this in general. The phenomena of creating an Unfiction project, having social media surrounding it in character, and now that you have this, what do you do with them? I can't see. My brain doesn't work anymore in the air. Well, that was weird, but I'll take it. I decided very early on that I wanted Will to run those social media accounts and post in character about things relevant to the series, relevant to Will, and like Diminish itself, try to create discussion, create awareness, to create change maybe, to help people. And this is another thing where I don't know if I see other Unfiction projects sort of being this open about it, about kind of throwing the rocks this hard at the wall, and that I'm seeing some effects of that, and I want to talk about that. I want to make you all aware of that if you want to create Unfiction projects and do similar things. Because, for one thing, people have been confused, like the instant that I talk about things, that I broach topics that aren't like directly, immediately about things happening in the series itself, people are confused thinking that I might be posting as Saria, not as Will. People are having trouble separating the creator from the person running the accounts in character, in world, because when the characters post on social media, it's not the main body of work, and it's not immediately assumed that this is part of the universe. And we're still in the very early phases of Unfiction, I believe, where it's even being called Unfiction, and not everything is being labeled in ARG, although of course ARGs apply to this discussion, where a lot of people who ingest Unfiction, especially new Unfiction in ARGs, are only holding them up against some very specific pantheons, as they see it, of the genre, of the art form. And whenever there are deviations from what those things did, alarm bells go off, and a lot of people are having trouble accepting these things and letting them exist in their own realm, in their own vacuum, instead of feeling like something has been done incorrectly, of there being a line that has been crossed, because it wasn't crossed with this project. And Diminish sort of unintentionally is doing a lot of those things, and that's why I want to talk about this. I used to consistently be able to land that on one leg and swing it into another double twist with a flip. I shouldn't be that upset knowing that I'm still capable of what I just did, but I feel like I do have the right to be really upset because I feel the gaping void of what I used to have. I find it very devastating and frustrating when I try to be emotional as Will would be, and one of the more prevalent reactions to that is people are assuming I'm speaking as Saria, like they're not letting Will have his moment. The messages that Will is trying to send, specifically in relation to the context of him being him around the world of the web series, it feels like that sort of is inherently being diluted by the differences in the mediums, and unfortunately I don't have really any answers or solutions yet. I want to continue to look into this and see what can be done. I think maybe at least the more I do it, maybe the more it'll be normalized, and the more people will start to at least understand, even if they don't agree with it, that this is Will talking, and these are things that Will would be saying. This is at least just like, I can see this for what it is. That was the most unclean combo transition I have ever done. I have to take what I can get these days. I'm finding it really easy to let myself get carried away as I go about all of this, because whenever I have emotional reactions and feel really angry and completely invalidated by takes on the work, by the things that I have Will talk about, it's easy for me to justify it all to myself, because it's like, well, Will would be this upset because he feels this strongly about his sister being disparaged, and that's sort of the emotion that went into Act 1, Episode 18. And there's a very fine line there where I need to be more careful, because there is a certain point where, as much as these are Will's moments, and Will and I are unbelievably similar, there is such a thing as me talking about myself, and I need to be careful and responsible as I approach this. And I'm struggling with that because because of a lot of things. I'll take it. Not a bad session for me right now. So, for those of you who are aspiring or current Unfiction creators who have separate social media accounts that are tangential to your project, and you've been thinking about how you want to use those accounts, this should hopefully serve as food for thought, and I don't want to dissuade any of you from doing this. I am a very, very, very intense and sensitive person, and the way that I respond to things and the way that things impact me shouldn't serve to be like this direct example of what this is going to be, how you feel. This is going to happen to you exactly like this. This is just, I want to have this be out there that you can look at and have more perspective with. Fan interaction is one of the things that I struggle with most, because existing with people is one of the things that I struggle with most in life, with being remotely happy. And I need to figure out how to use that in the right ways. And for one thing, I guess the one thing that I could say for certain that I've learned from this, and that maybe I could extend as advice, is that if you're going to use comments as an example, of course I think you should totally protect their identity, blur out or color out their names and profile pictures and everything, but also give it time. As much as you feel like you might be feeling really eloquent right now, like it's all so fresh, like you know exactly what to say, you know exactly what you want to say in the moment, and when the moment passes, you're going to be feeling differently. Like, it doesn't mean you're going to be feeling better, it doesn't mean you're going to be any less crushed or any less whatever, but I think it's important that you give that time and you have that space where you can see things more clearly for what they are, and at least lessen the chance of something going really wrong and of hurting people. Because when you have an audience, you have a responsibility. And Diminish wasn't intended to have an audience like this, but here we are. And this continues. I want it to be very clear that although admittedly I do struggle with seeing any negative reaction to my art as, oh, this is an injustice and I must write this because if anybody dislikes what I do, that's wrong. I do struggle with that immensely. But even when I executed it poorly yesterday with my response, I absolutely never, ever, ever want anyone to ever feel like I'm coming after them for disliking me or what I do. Because opinions exist, and people like things and they dislike things, and people are. And as I learn things and as I make mistakes, I want to put bookmarks on that and start talking about it so we can learn together, maybe. But at the very least, there's that, and I'm sure that there are 10 billion other things that I didn't think about here that I'm going to be like, wait, I should have said that! But that is not now, so here's hoping that this is all right, and I'm hoping you're all right, and hopefully this has helped, and thank you for watching. Thank you as always for your support. I have a serious problem with being unkind to myself regarding how easily I let negativity just sort of rule my life, and bad faith actors rule my life, when 99.9% of everyone interacting with me is just them showering me constantly with love and compassion and support and all of the most incredible things, and talking about how Diminish has changed their lives for the better and all of this stuff. And when I say thank you and it means so much to me, that is absolutely true. I do struggle with the other stuff affecting me more powerfully, but it doesn't mean that you're not getting through. And thank you always. Thank you for that. People like things and they dislike things, and people are. Anyway, good luck. I wish all you the best, and dream on, friends. Peace. Talk to you again.